Welcome to Gary Talks, Keith. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Gary. Amazing.
Well, we are here today to talk about cult movies. I know you're as big a movie fan as I am about stuff, and I just wanted to find out, what do you think makes a movie into a cult movie?
I think the definition is really subjective for people because it, I don't think box office has any sort of thing to do with it. There are plenty of movies that have made money and made their money and have are popular, but are also cult. If you see people cosplaying it, if they own the box set of every movie and the new media comes up and they buy it, doesn't that kind of signify kind of cult like behavior? Genre, you start to go into any genre down a little rabbit hole, and any horror, sci-fi, they're going to have their own kind of cult following. So I think that for me, it's always something that had a little bit of outsider Hollywood creation. So it wasn't part of a studio system. Might be an independent film, a Corman movie, a Russ Myers film. It could be what Cox, Repo Man, um,
Oh yeah, Alice Cox.
Alex Cox. So and then some of them were working within studio systems and getting notes and like, what you want me to what? I don't even know what I'm making. Harmony Korine. Like I love kids and I love
A Bully. I love Bully.
Gummo
Larry
and
Clark did that one. Yeah.
so
You know,
cult, I think that fun can be part of it because you want to rewatch it. It can't be something terrible. The one good. But and you find friends through those films. You go, hey, I got something to show you. And it's usually other cinephiles, videophiles that are like, seen a lot of movies and know the history and everything like that. And they're like, oh, really? I don't know about that. My favorite thing is to share because that's how I found some of my favorite cult movies are friends who told me it stuck in a laser disc and showed it to me. I'm dating myself now.
Yeah. Well, I think that's one of the things too that might separate what people's viewpoint of a cult movie is based on their age. Guys in our age range that, we were into movies before the internet was around, a lot of stuff you only found out about through word of mouth. Someone made a VHS copy of a VHS copy of South Park's pilot, and people were trading stuff around, and a lot of cult movies were tape traders. How do you think that's changed now in the age of the internet where it's so easy to find any movie ever made?
I was there when everyone started buying the very expensive VHS decks at $999 to buy a VCR. Can you believe that? And the fight between Betamax and VHS was
Mm-hmm.
big. Better quality on Betamax, but you had to split Superman into two parts. So you had Superman 1 and 2, and then Superman 2, 1 and 2. Um, I was introduced to a lot of stuff by Z Channel in
Okay, yeah.
LA. We had, the boxes with number one, two, three for A, B, C, D. So the last channel on the top, Z, and it was run by this allegedly coked out, just, this guy. He knew how to program. He's one of the first people that found director's cuts, alternate cuts. And, he'd license 5 movies a month and play them to death. It
Right.
would be Heaven's Gate, followed by Alien, followed by Clockwork Orange. It would be the most bizarre stuff. So I was exposed to a lot of that stuff through Z Channel, I think, too. But yeah, also passing around tapes.
Yeah.
Um, First job was video store at 18, like outside of the film industry.
Yeah.
And you go, what is that movie? I heard of it. I want to, check it out. So
Well, I mean, I remember, back the video stores when the employees would have their favorite picks. And there was
yes,
always the one guy, right? So you had who, would have like
Mulholland
the weirdest,
Driver, Killer
yeah, or
Clowns from Outer
he would have
Space.
Maniac, or like
Ooh, good pick.
some bizarre like 70s exploitation, the Emmanuel movies or whatever. And it's like, well, I got to watch whatever that guy suggests. And it feels like that guy had his finger on the pulse of cult film.
The Emmanuel movies played on Z Channel. Heavily edited. It was very soft.
I
They're like,
remember
oh,
seeing
I'm
one
very
of those on
interested in this
TV.
library. Huh?
I remember seeing one of those on TV, and the way they edited it was they put like little stars over like the boobs and stuff. So it was like it was not cut, but it was just suddenly there's like, oh, here's a star. So as a kid, you're kind of trying to be like, maybe if I can look and the star move. But
We'd watch scrambled HBO. It would be like the
Scramble
bar,
Vision.
and it's purple, and you're like elbow, maybe. Ooh, I
Yeah,
think a
yep. I
shoulder.
think I saw. Oh no, never mind. That was a guy. That was. Besides being a massive film fan, you are also a movie star. You have been in countless films, and some of these films were huge. Some of them were not as huge, but have gained a cult following, and some are kind of like what you talked about that were a big movie at the time and have just gained even more of a following over the years. So, as an actor, when you're doing one of these movies, do you ever think to yourself like, "Oh, this has something. This could be a cult movie"?
you There's the saying, I was in all of the good movies and half of the bad ones. And you embrace it when you get there. Uh, dude, from the cast on the call sheet, from the director, the budget, the schedule, instantly if you're going to have resources or if you're not going to have resources. And some of the most interesting and creative things are done by directors who don't have resources. The worst thing you could do to spoil a new up and coming creative artistic director is to give them money and a budget. And look what Hollywood did to John Woo.
Yep.
Anyway,
Well, and you look at like all the directors that Marvel hires. They will have done like a killer independent movie or something. They've got a great vision. And it's like, oh wow, they're gonna really make an awesome movie. And then by the time they're churned out, it's just typical studio fare.
well, I think that they do need a director like that to be able to have the humanity, the emotionality, but you've got to be able to have help and support to let a director who is known for that. Maybe they did a very small 2-3 person drama, and it's like, oh, that was really great and very real. And then they get lost in the effects and the trailers and the budget and our scheduling. The sets aren't ready. We got to go to the cover set. There's reshoots. There's notes from. They're like, it was a simple scene.
Right. Where in some movies they're just like, like Tammy and the T-Rex. They wrote the entire
Oh,
movie around like they just had that animatronic T-Rex.
I love Tammy and the T Rex. I love it. Oh, we did a short film. Me and Sean Astin um, did with Heather Grimes was in it. Sean, we made him. He was producing, and we made him play dead. I got to spread like liver and chicken parts and fake blood all over him, and we reused Night of the Living Dead 2 masks that were taken from set. And then they're like, "Oh, we'll use this," and we stuck a zombie mask on Heather Grimes's face, and then had her pull it. We had her pull off her face to show the zombie face underneath. It was a really cool effect on 8 millimeter, on
Oh, it's
Super 8.
and that was when immediately you were like, this
So
could be a cult film.
you reuse set pieces, costumes. Heck, I did a Fantasy Island Junior, and the costumer goes, who's we're in this like little rock band with Scott Baio, Jimmy Baio, and Jill Whalen from Love Boat. And we're on these outfits, these jumpsuits or whatever. And they go, whose costume you're wearing? I go, I don't know. And they said, Danny Bonaducci's. Those are Partridge Family outfits. Studios archive stuff. They archive sets. They archive flats. Sets are reused. Laverne and Shirley, the original set when they were in Milwaukee, the basement set, that was the Odd Couple set.
Oh wow.
Think
Well, and
about it.
there was one I just saw recently where it was like Two and a Half Men reused a set. It
Yeah,
was
Laverne and Shirley.
Laverne and yeah.
When Laverne and
So,
Shirley moved to LA, that was
yeah,
reused as the Two and a Half Men set.
yeah. It's great. It's
And
great.
also bits of the parlor sequence from Unsinkable Molly Brown, this big pink set, huge musical sequence. It was chopped into about a third of its size and used as the Addams Family set. And since the Addams Family set is in black and white, you can't tell that it is hot pink walls.
Nice. I did not know that. So you learn something all the time when you talk to Keith Coogan. And
So
we're
those
we're
B movies do that, and they also feature vehicles because that's a great way to road trip movies are a great way to tell a story, beginning, middle, and end, a goal, easy obstacle. They get a flat, they get a thing. And it's usually the director's car,
right.
one of the actors' cars. They have one of them.
Right. Like whatever you do, don't wreck this car.
Also, I think cult could be part of the legend of making it, like
That's
Evil
true.
Dead 2 and Sleeping in the Cabin, or not running with no film permits.
Mhm.
Those kinds of things build to the legend of a film. Pinky and I were talking about Blair Witch Project today, and those actors and the weird agreement to kind of stay hidden for a year so that people thought it was a real story. And
Yeah.
so they'll use. You remember Matinee with John Goodman?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the tricks, the stunts to get people, come to the theater and stuff like that. Um, so yeah, cult can be like that. I loved like Fallout House of Usher in 3D with
Oh
Vincent
yeah.
Price.
Yeah.
And because when I was growing up, Channel 5, Channel 13, not only would they play Elvira, Mistress of the Dark hosted movies, but they also had one where you could go to 7-Eleven and get 3D glasses and they'd play Stagecoach, or it
Oh, that's
was
cool.
really cool.
Yeah. One quick last thing I was going to ask you is because of the rules, the budgets, just the world we live in now, do you think it's harder to make a cult movie? Like I saw an interview with John Waters where he was talking about, now there's the intimacy coordinators and things like that on set. And, he couldn't imagine trying to do pink flamingos with, intimacy coordinators. And he made a joke about someone wanting to make sure that Divine liked the taste of the dog poop before she ate it. So it's like, do you think that all the rules and everything we have now makes it harder to make a cult film, or they'll still find their way?
I think cult films, oh God, I don't know. Cult doesn't necessarily mean union or non-union. Um, non-union, you might not get paid, you might not get fed, you might have to, travel yourself out. And um, so longer hours. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, uh,
Mm.
at the end, it was just like a 36-hour day with, the clothes stunk. It was hot.
It
People had
was like
injuries. Like,
rotting
we just
meat
got to
all over
finish
the
the movie.
floor.
Oh, I know what I was going to say. At a certain budget level, when you have to, huh, you have a phone, you have an iPhone, I have a phone, it has video. We could shoot a movie now. Tangerine, we shot an iPhone. Two movies at Con used iPhones as B cameras. So, um, it, it, you can absolutely pick up a phone and shoot with your friends. Look at Zombie Girl. Um, oh, I'm blanking on her name. I'll remember it as I talk about her. 14 years old. She goes, I want to direct a movie for parents. And they got a high 8 video camera and they shot the big exposition scene with the doctor at the kitchen table thing. And great. She goes, okay, I have a scene about the thing. And the dad goes, well, we got to do coverage. She goes, what's coverage? Emily Haggins. Emily, hi, Emily. I was early friends with Emily on this thing called MySpace.
Oh, that one. Yeah. Thank you,
Yeah,
Tom.
there's a Netflix documentary. It's called Zombie Girl. She's directed several features. She's never gone union, and that's fine. I really want to work with her, and I was like, please go union next time. So at one point, you hit over a couple hundred grand, or maybe a million or two. As soon as you start having to go to the studio for financing, the studio's not using their own money. They're going to a bank and they're getting a loan to make that film, and it carries interest. And so from script to screen, it's usually about 2 years under the studio system and stage rental and film permits. And I don't know. I don't think film permits were used on Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, to be honest.
Right.
Perfect cult film right there.
That one sums it up and was written by Mr. Roger Ebert.
Absolutely. The Helter Skelter, Manson family murders had happened. And they even incorporated those into the script as it was ongoing. They're like, let's have a real hippie psycho freak out.
Yeah. All right. Well, we are going to get back to my countdown of movies, but I'm going to be back with you because I'm going to let you reveal what my number one cult movie of all time is. And I'm pretty sure it's your number one movie too. So here we go. Now it's time for me to reveal my number one favorite cult movie, but I'm not going to reveal it. We're going to go back to my good friend and special guest, Mr. Keith Coogan. And Keith, what do you think that I think and you think is the number one cult movie of all time?
When you asked me to be on your show, we talked briefly. And you go, what do you want to talk about? Which movie of yours? And I go, I don't have to talk about my movie. I love all movies. I'm like, we could talk about Buckaroo Banzai for an hour. And you go, do you want to do it to show on Buckaroo Banzai for an hour? So is it Buckaroo Banzai?
It is Buckaroo Banzai. I think it is the full definition of what is a cult movie to me. I mean, it's the kind of movie that if they wanted you to do the elevator pitch, you better be in the elevator to the Empire State Building. Because, you're like, oh, this guy's a surgeon, rocket scientist, rock star, superhero, ninja who is trying to fight a guy from another dimension who is in the body of a doctor who's played by John Lithgow. It's the craziest thing with the greatest cast. But, to you, what makes Buckaroo Banzai the greatest cult film ever made?
When it came out, I was seeing a lot of films in theaters. I would go spend my allowance. I got $15 a week if I mowed the lawn and did all the things and emptied the trash and picked up the dog poop and all that stuff. And I would go see two films a day in Westwood. And Westwood is the biggest screens next to the Chinese Theater and the Cinerama Dome. It's the biggest screens in LA, and there's three or four of them all right next to clustered little art house films. There's the Avco over and the Crest, the Disney Crest over across Wilshire. And so I would just go, and I'd be friends with all the ushers, all the box office. Sean Astin was researching for a part and got a job working at the Man Theaters there. So I'd be, Sean, what's up? What's up? Exterminator 2, can I come in? Cool. I
Oh,
remember
great. There's another
walking
great
to
one.
Shocker. I was talking to everybody. Hey, Chris, what's up? Hey. And I won't mention which employee had a bootleg copy of RoboCop that they filmed from in the theater and then would play at home on their big, remember projection TVs that were like,
Yeah.
from inside projecting. I won't mention that, but I remember I walked into Shocker. It's Wes Craven, and
Yeah.
they go to electrocute him, but he jumps bodies, and he can. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Horace Pinker.
Oh, thank you. So I
Yeah.
walk in, and I didn't know I walked in before the end of the movie. So I walk in and I catch the last 10 minutes of it. I go, none of this is making any sense. Credits come on and I'm like, oh, okay, thank God. So I just waited until it started over again. And that was great. That was a great attempt to build a Freddy, a Jason, a Michael.
Such a great, great movie. And I mean, that one, I recently did my top 10 favorite soundtracks of all time, and the Shocker soundtrack came in, I believe, at number 10.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's a classic hard rock soundtrack. Alice Cooper, Kiss, Megadeth, good stuff.
Ooh, yeah.
But how did you find out about Buckaroo Banzai for the
My
first time?
friend Brad DeMoss, who was attending UCLA at the time, he turned me on to Akira. He turned me on to Buck. He goes, let's see Buckaroo. And you know, he was already obsessed with like Back to the Future. His license plate was Future Boy.
Nice.
And I saw a person obsessed. He had laser disc collections, both kinds. He had the progressive, the long play, whatever. There was two, just like Betamax and VHX. There was two types of laser discs.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there was like two types, and that was great. You had the big cover art, like an LP, and oftentimes like Criterion Collection laser discs had behind the scenes and just pristine prints. And I obsessed on every detail, aspect ratio, the color, the film used. You could see the budget 5 minutes into a movie. Just listen to the sound and you know what their budget is. Bad sound, no budget. Um, and music, that really, I think 80s with MTV combining that movies would have a music video integrated. The hit song from it put back into with clips from the thing or characters and actors from the movie in the music video. And so that's where it all started to blend, the TV and music and movies. Everyone's starting to show up together. But yeah, Cole. So Buckaroo Banzai. Did you know that I've had a lot of dogs over the years? One time I named a dog Buckaroo.
Oh, wow. That's
So that's,
cool.
yes, I like Buckaroo Banzai. So thanks, Brad. And Brad was in our wedding. He was one of my groomsmen.
I remember like I
And I
went to
met him
see
at Rocky
some.
Horror Picture Show.
So I had gone to see some movie. I for some reason I think it's Rhinestone with Stallone and Dolly Parton, and they had the trailer for Buckaroo Banzai before it. And I don't know if you remember the trailer, but it basically was just that final scene of the movie, the closing credits where they're all walking together as the song plays, and that was the entire credits. and it completely, I was captivated. And I was like, I can't wait to see this movie. And then, of course, it never came to my little small town movie theater. And then
And
finally, I found it on VHS. It was one of those Columbia House 12 VHS for a penny that I still haven't paid for. And I watched that over and over and over again. And every time I tried to show it to somebody, they never understood it. They even my wife Sharon, when about 10 years ago, maybe they were doing a screening of it. Edgar Wright was like doing a film festival. And so he was doing like, movies that he should have seen. And it was at New Beverly and they had Buckaroo Banzai. So I took my wife to see it. And first of all, it was a midnight screening that didn't start until about 2:30 in the morning. And
ooh,
then so like she slept through part of it. And then afterwards, she's like, I don't get that movie. I don't understand it. That was kind of what I came up with every single person I showed Buckaroo Banzai to. So, was there a certain point whenever you started finding other people that also loved Buckaroo Banzai as much as you?
the interwebs. Once the internet, happened, you started to hear dialogue would show up in chats, to some response to something stupid. People would fight over movies. That's the biggest fights, really, or is Die Hard a Christmas movie? What's the best trilogy ever released? Things like that. Those are fighting words, man. Um, and so I think that's when, yeah, when internet started to come along, and then now also we got to meet Peter Weller. We went and saw what was it with Peter that they were showing? Oh, he did a great interview with New Bev. I forget which movie they screened. I want to say RoboCop. Yeah,
It's a safe bet.
that's a safe bet. They talked a lot about Alex Cox for some reason, and Repo Man at that, which was really weird. I don't know why I'm connecting all that, but I've seen a lot of Q&As there. And I love that. I love when you get those stories when they're like, dude, we had no time. There's one take. There was, we're getting chased by the cops, or you know, what yeah, I don't know. True cult films, I think they veer so far that they couldn't possibly have studio. They're very independent stuff. Roger
This was
Corman picks are always a safe go-to
I can't
bet.
remember the small studio that helped put it together, but I remember in the DVD commentary, the director was saying that the studio head was just insane. Like he would throw a fit that Buckaroo was wearing red glasses and was like, a hero does not wear red glasses. And, so then they would fight about it and they would shut down production for a week as they fought about what color glasses the hero could wear. And then, okay, well, he can have red glasses in 2 scenes, but he can't have them in 3 scenes. And apparently that is where the mythical watermelon came from, was once they thought that he had maybe stopped giving them notes, they were like, there's only one way to know. And they put the watermelon in the scene, referenced it, and said, I'll tell you later. And they knew if he was watching it, he was going to flip his wig, give notes, and he never gave a note on it. And they knew at that point they were free to do whatever they wanted with the movie.
Wow. I never, that's great.
Yeah, it's
That's great.
finally
Yep.
it's
Wow.
finally
Wow.
the true reason of the watermelon.
They had gone through the writer, ah, God knows what he wrote, went through so many drafts and had started and stopped and started another one and stopped. And so there was this kind of tome, a whole tome. There was a whole like past adventures that had happened. And they drop you, you know, in media res right at the rocket thing into the mountain, and the audience doesn't know what's going on. He veers off course, and we're just as surprised as the other technicians are like, where is he going?
Yeah.
We as every new layer of exposition on him adds to the karate rock star thing, and then we bring the gang together.
Mm-hmm.
um Perfect Tommy, and
Perfect
I read
Tom
that
is the
the
best.
actor for Perfect Tommy loved the jacket he tried on so much, but it didn't fit. So he lost 25 pounds to play Perfect Tommy. so that he'd
Wow.
wear that jacket.
With no
Jeff
shirt.
Goldblum was like long considered in a part of it. It's just amazing how it all came together. Um, Ellen Barkin, hello,
Ellen
and
Barkin. The
what's
funny
ahead
thing
of its
too.
time, and what I think cult, and I thought about this just before the interview, is cross genre, but it's stuff you just don't think, like horror comedy or thriller or action comedy. I think is pretty four quadrant. But it's
Yeah.
when you go off into those sideways. It's a vampire comedy.
Yeah.
Once Bitten or Rockula or whatever. The, those kinds of things are where I think it starts to enter cult status because
Yeah.
it is weird. And general audiences, families, they go on Easter, let's go see a movie, and they happen to go to one of the theaters that is carrying Buckaroo Banzai. Dude, they're going to be lost. And the point of that movie is not structure. It's not
Yeah.
Joseph Campbell and the hero's journey. It is, though. It still follows all those things. It just doesn't spoon feed you any sort of exposition. It uses bizarre jargon and lingo and language and creates its own universe.
And
And that's the secret to a cult movie. Key Largo creates its own universe. We're trapped. The storm. There's killers here. There's a good guy, but he has a bad past. And the thing, what's going to happen? Um, and cult, yeah, yeah, I love them. I I try to expose Pinky to some of my favorites and stuff, and she's like, ah.
yeah, same with me and my wife Sharon. She always gives it the old college try, and she'll watch some of them with me. And even recently, we watched The Big Lebowski, which did not make my list, only because it feels like it is so mainstream now. It definitely was a cult movie at one time, but I think just how a movie can be, a mainstream movie and become a cult movie over time, it's the reverse. No one saw Lebowski, and now Lebowski Fest everywhere. It's probably Jeff Bridges' most famous character. So I don't qualify that one as a cult film anymore. But to get back to it, I showed that to my wife who had never seen it, and then she was just like, "I don't get it. I don't get what the big deal is. I don't know why people love this movie so much." And I
I
think
really
that kind of
liked Penn and Teller Get Killed.
oh, that's a good
That's
one.
a bizarre movie that I don't think is going to please any audience at all.
Yeah.
It's a baffling. The spaghetti. Wait, the Linguini incident. The Linguini. It's got David Bowie, Marley Matlin. Linguini incident, I think.
I don't think I've seen that one.
Um, there are New Line put out a lot of cool stuff. There was one that had Tom Waits in it, a little romantic comedy. They come and they go from the hip
Oh yeah, with Judd Nelson.
with Bender. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's funny what you mentioned that. I mean, like you do have those studios like New Line or like Canon or these ones that just seem to be like pretty much anything they did, with the exception of Lord of the Rings for New Line, that it maybe came from the smaller budgets or less network or studio involvement or what, but they definitely made more cult films than other studios.
I'm gonna me. My mind for a minute. I did work for Touchstone, which is Disney, and Disney, Buena Vista, Fox and the Hound, Adventure Space, Sitting, etc. Cheetah, in the Army now, which is Hollywood Pictures, their R-rated division. Worked for De Laurentiis on Hiding Out. I worked for Paramount with Cousins. I did Under the Boardwalk for New World, which is Roger Corman. It was
Okay,
after he
yeah,
kind of sold it.
yeah.
So I've worked on a Corman picture. I've done a surf movie, a ski picture, a giant snake movie. Uh, PM Entertainment is a particular company I love. The Pepe Marin, and they had a mansion they used, and it was always the bad guy's mansion in every movie they did. They had a big red Cadillac. Stephen First was often in their cast, and also Ted Jan Roberts, who was a double black belt uh, teenager who was the star of about a dozen of these movies. You got to go find them.
Yeah, I gotcha.
PM Entertainment. Every movie has the same car, the same locations, the same thing, and it's the kind of the mark of a low budget studio like Corman Productions or something like that.
Yeah,
And
that
just like
sounds
a studio pick system like Warner Brothers will kick out a Casablanca by accident. We just happened to get great script, great cast, great director, great cinematography, and we were lucky. Casablanca hit the front page a week before the movie was going to come out. That and everyone saw it and everything like that. Um, that timing, a zeitgeist. Look at Snakes on a Plane.
Mm-hmm.
How the internet heard Sam Jackson's being cast, and they said, "We will not buy a ticket if we don't have, I'm sick and tired of motherfucking plane." And then they did a reshoots and they shot the line.
With it, that line is such an extreme close up that doesn't match anything else in the scene, and that also makes it amazing. Like it's obviously like they just they just spliced it in.
I heard that Louis B. Mayer would give directors paltry budgets on huge war movies. And I think, well, what? And he goes, well, shoot the parlor scenes, whatever. They shoot the war room scenes, all that stuff. If the director would shoot what he could, and he'd come back, and Louis B. Mayer would go, I hate it. Oh, thanks, Louis. And he goes, but I like them. They're cute together. Read a couple more scenes with them. I'll give you another $1 million. Shoot a big battle scene, and I'll put it in the trailer. And then he'd do the love interest thing, and then he'd redo the ending. I changed the ending. They're like, Louis, that's not how the book ends. He goes, movies are different than books. They call that area in Culver City Retake Alley because he kept reshooting the ends of them just because he kind of knew what audiences wanted at that very
Yeah.
end, that last feeling, that last memory, just before the credits roll. There's a passion in filmmaking because you're not there for the money. You're not protected by any labor stuff, safety issues. You hear all these stories of people that are in quite dangerous situations, and dangerous situations happen on union pictures all the time. Look at the Rust situation. But there's a fun factor. And when you ask the first question you ask me, how do you know when you're on a movie if it's going to be a cult movie or not? And there's a spirit because no matter what, everyone's having fun, and every idea is advanced forward. There's no ego for the director or the star. Someone goes, "Be funnier if her shirt stuck on it. Be funnier if his toupee came up." And the grip goes. They're like, "Dude, Tiny, that was a great idea. We'll do that hair, makeup." They're like, "We're on it. We already started. We thought that was hysterical." So there's a collaboration and a desperation in shot choices and they know what's going to be transgressive because most cult movies have something that's transgressive. It's going to be a African American lead for Night of the Living Dead, the original. Anyway,
Yeah.
we didn't even think of that. The filmmakers go, he's such a great actor. We made him the lead, and we go. All these film critics and stuff have said what they've analyzed the movie, and they go, dude, he's just fantastic. Even Shaun of the Dead, Coming to Get You, Barbara, which links us over to Shaun of the Dead. That was that huge box. I mean, they have the Cornetto trilogy, but I find that cult. I
Oh
find
yeah.
that you could say a line, you got some red on you, that if people get that, they don't. One of the things I use, and this is also popular, my wife loves it. This is a genuine movie I think everyone could say might be cult. If someone's leaving and going off, I go, have fun storming the castle. And what is that?
Princess Bride.
Princess Bride,
That's
right.
right. Yeah.
So that can be cult too.
Princess Bride is definitely cult.
You think it's definitely cult? Yeah.
Well, speaking of if there's a line from a cult movie that everyone knows, there's obviously from Buckaroo Banzai, wherever you go, there you are. But I would ask, right before we end this interview, if you would do me the honor of saying the classic cult line from one of my favorite all-time cult movies, Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead.
The dishes are done, man.
Hell yeah. Thank you, Keith Coogan, for being here on Gary Talks. As always, I enjoy talking to you, and we will catch up together soon.
Thanks, Gary. Thanks, guys. Bye.